Hi, my name is Alex Reinlieb. I'm a CEO and founder of Plug.dj, where we turn content into engaged communities. We all know that the world is becoming increasingly social, but the way we actually consume media online is a solitary and lonely experience. And there's a lot of things that are broken economically and from a product basis with the products that are out there. People want to engage around content, and they simply can't do it in a positive and effective way. And many products simply cannot make it out globally because of complexities of the media and licensing and distribution systems. We've solved all these problems by creating a fun and engaging way for people to consume media in a truly social fashion. We stream from the largest media libraries on the planet, and which incurs zero licensing fees to us, and it's enabled us to distribute globally from day one. Proof is in the pudding. Our audience has organically grown to over 3.7 million registered users in over 190 countries. What's even more impressive is our engagement. Our average user spends over 2.5 hours actively engaged every time they use the product. By active engagement, we're talking about chatting, interacting with other people, upvoting songs, downvoting songs, adding things to your playlist, anything that keeps people engaged. This is a lean forward experience and fills a niche that is simply not being filled out there. This is an example of one of our thousands of user-created communities. This is an example of a fully branded community by one of the fastest growing EDM labels on the planet, Monster Cat. This is one great example of how we can create this into a fully functional, deeply immersive advertising channel for brands, key influencers, YouTube channels, anybody that's looking to get a worldwide audience that's super engaged. Once you're in the experience, it's fully driven by the community, by community curation, which is very important. But most importantly, we're finding that people are attached to the experience because they form bonds around common interests. Our audience is very interesting when it comes to this market. They're not your average music listener. They're of course into music, and I don't want to steer you the wrong way there, but there's a very strong overlap with the social gaming world. And this is extremely important because these fans spend enormous amounts of time engaged with other people around the world. They're very active in online social communities, and they're already very well bought into our model that enables people to earn points, level up, earn badges, and other rewards over time as they spend on the site. It's going to be a key component for our initial monetization strategy. Our engagement deepens over time. As people spend more frequent weeks on the site, they're spending more time in each of those subsequent weeks. When you have an audience that is spending so much time engaged, lean forward, there's an enormous opportunity to monetize. At our current rate, if we don't grow, if we're able to collect 15 cents per active user, we'll be at break even. But that's not as interesting to me as the massive opportunity that's there for us to monetize in the way that a social game would. All we have to do is keep people engaged, keep people focused on the experience, and they're already very well bought into our model. And I glossed over this last time, but this is an example. This is our team that has made this possible. Super authentic to the cause, and of course we've had the financial support of Javelin Ventures for the past year or so. Thank you very much.
It's a lot easier the second time around.
That's why I won't be asking him any questions, by the way.
Peter, light him up.
Sure. Congrats on the engagement metrics. They look good.
Thank you.
In terms of monetization, obviously that is, you can determine how soon you really ratchet that up. What are your thoughts right now on different models that you want to choose, advertising versus virtual goods versus other things?
Great question. It makes the most sense for us to start with virtual goods because we already have an extremely active user base that's been champing at the bit for us to allow them to pay for virtual goods. The way we think about it is broken into two main categories when it comes to virtual goods. One are the aesthetic-based virtual goods like avatars and backgrounds, things that are outwardly facing and people like the status of it. And the other is things that actually enhance and improve the experience for people. Our audience is the type of audience that wants a free-to-play but pay for customizations and enhancements along the experience. In terms of timeline, we're working on the mechanics right now from a development perspective that enable us to charge people. We're expecting to have this in the next quarter or so. One of the really interesting things about this is that we just recently revamped our rewards system in place where people earn points and level up and earn badges for spending time on the site. They are already being trained to pay virtually for items that they're earning over time. The next step is to introduce money into the equation. From a longer term perspective, because we have such deep engagement, we're attractive to really any brand, whether it's an artist, a label, a YouTube channel, or a brand like Coke that wants to reach an engaged audience. This audience is so lean forward and so focused, they're paying attention, and there's also an opportunity to get a lot of peer-to-peer advertising amongst the crowd. It's also a great way to run a focus group on what people are interested in, because you get live feedback. One of the big advantages that we have as a community-driven product is that we have no shortage of feedback, and we've taken that to heart from day one, and we'll continue to do that as a way to monetize in a couple different ways.
So you are going to be entering, do you have a CPM model with this? You are going to work with agencies and brands?
We, not in the next couple of months, but I think longer term, there's certainly an opportunity to do that. Our gut right now is telling us that we don't want to necessarily degrade the experience by throwing up banner ads or something that's going to detract people and just be unthoughtful. But when you make it deeply immersive, that resonates very well with people. This is a great example of this. So this record label is based out of Canada. They're one of the fastest growing electronic labels in the world. And this scene is a boat party overlooking the Toronto skyline. The Black Cat avatars, which unfortunately are not animated in a static image like this, are the musicians and artists that work at the label. They use this as an engagement platform, and it's an enormously immersive way for them to advertise their brand and their channel. What's amazing about this environment in particular is that in the beginning it was very hands-on by the artists that worked at the label, but it's organically now moderated by the community. So it runs itself, and it's an advertisement and a distribution channel for them to get out to around the world. The other thing we could do, which we've experimented with in the early stages, was putting product placement, much like they would do in movies, in the experience. So there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't make the DJ booth Pioneer, or the speaker set Bose or Sonos, and you can let your imagination run from there.
Cool, I've got a portfolio company that does that, can help, so.
Oh, great, yeah, let's talk afterwards, please.
I've been involved with a company that was in this space about 6 years ago called Doppelganger, which literally, I mean, it's like deja vu. And we had a deal with Interscope Records and had, very, very similar sort of concept, and not unlike Second Life, I mean, very highly engaged community, but ultimately, kind of it reaches a certain point and kind of stops growing, and very engaged community. But how do you, what's different now than 5 or 6 or 10 years ago? That will, I think, keep people engaged over the long term, and then B, what, I don't think you can take sort of the commercial side of it lightly, because it always does feel like, we can have product placement and brands, but at the end of the day, I mean, people who are super engaged in these communities also don't want to feel too advertised to, and so I do think there's a balance there, and just curious as to how you're thinking about it.
Sure, great question on I'd like to point back to what Bill Gross said this morning, which is timing. Timing is a lot when it comes to building a company. 5, 6 years ago, YouTube was amazing, but there wasn't the same buy-in from record companies, from content owners about YouTube. YouTube has gotten so big now, and they're able to muscle their way around, that content owners know they need YouTube to distribute. We're an amplification tool for YouTube. When one person selects a video to play and there's 1,000 people in a room, that's 1,000 views just like that. So we're very much aligned with content owners, and I think a true compliment in why we'll be able to sustain on that front when it comes to content owners. In terms of user engagement, I often get asked, well, you sound kind of like a game for music. Why would people keep using you over time? The fundamental difference between us and games is that people don't stop listening to music. People don't stop watching videos. We're a fun and engaging way to do something that they're already going to do. So those are two of the main differences, I would say, but also at the heart of it, we don't consider, something I mentioned in the first presentation, we don't consider ourselves a music video company. It's core to what we're doing, but we consider ourselves to be a community management tool and a community-driven product. And that enters into every way we think about the product, the way we build it, the way we treat our audience, the way we give them the tools to manage their communities so we can step away and so it can scale effectively. And then the second question was around working with brands, correct? Yes. So in our a couple of proof of concepts, we found that when you do it in a thoughtful and engaging way, immersive, it's very effective, and people actually like being part of the experience. But I agree, it's a slippery slope. You can't just tack on something that's going to degrade the experience and whatnot. Great example, though, is when Red Bull did the stratosphere jump or do any of the number of really exciting things that they do, there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't have a GoPro or a Red Bull sponsored room or sponsored environment where we make the experience fun for people to consume together.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.